My friend, behind the scenes at the Jefferson Health Training Complex, something happened that very few Eagles fans are paying attention to, but that could have real consequences for the future of this franchise. Right after one of the most eventful weeks in recent team history, with the 2026 draft and the trade acquisition of an elite edge rusher, a quiet piece of news slipped out of the organization. A man who spent 17 years building 2 Super Bowl rings alongside Howie Roseman decided to say goodbye. He wasn't fired. There was no public conflict. He simply chose to move on. And the question nobody is asking, but every fan should be asking is, what does this move mean for the future of the Eagles? If you're a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because this is exactly the kind of news that seems small today, but that can define the next several years of this franchise. Hit the bell too so you don't miss a single update. Here's the deal. The person who just left the organization spent 17 years with the Eagles. He walked in as an intern and climbed all the way to the second most powerful position in the front office, directly below Howie Roseman. He leaves with 2 Super Bowl rings and a reputation across the NFL as one of the sharpest football minds of his generation. He interviewed for general manager jobs in Carolina and Washington in 2024 and again with the New York Jets in 2025. The league has been watching this man for a while. And now, for the first time in his entire professional life, he will not be a Philadelphia Eagle. His name is Alec Hollibay. To understand the weight of what just happened, you need to know his full story. Hollibay is a Harvard graduate, and that already tells you a great deal about the intellectual profile he brought to the organization. He completed 2 internships with the Eagles, one in 2007 and one in 2009. In 2010, he was officially hired as a player personnel analyst. Just 2 years later, in 2012, he had already been promoted to special assistant to the general manager, in Roseman's 3rd season in the role. Think about that. Roseman was just beginning to build what would become one of the most dominant dynasties in the NFC, and Hollibay was right there beside him, learning and contributing from day one. He didn't just witness the construction of a championship organization, he was one of the architects behind it. In 2016, another promotion. Vice President of Football Operations and Strategy, a position he held for 6 years. And then came the final ascension, from assistant to the general manager to assistant general manager, a role he held for 4 years, 17 years of climbing, from a summer internship all the way to the 2nd seat in the front office. And he's walking out the door with 2 Super Bowl rings on his finger. That is a career arc that very few people in this league will ever replicate. But what did Hollibay actually do in that building every single day? That's where things get really interesting, and where the true weight of this departure becomes clear. In a front office like Philadelphia's, the assistant GM is the person closest to every critical decision, from the earliest stages of draft evaluation to the final structure of a contract. Hollibay was the operational backbone between Roseman's vision and the execution on the ground. He was in the room when the Eagles built the roster that won Super Bowl 52. He was there again when they assembled the team that delivered championship number 2. He understood how this organization thinks, how it evaluates talent, how it moves in the draft, how it structures deals to maximize cap space year after year. 17 years of institutional memory don't just disappear. They walk out the door with the person who holds them. And that is exactly what just happened in Philadelphia. In the statement he released to the media, reported by Zach Berman of The Athletic, Hollibay was nothing but gracious. He spoke about gratitude toward Chairman and CEO Jeffrey Lurie, thanked Roseman for being his mentor from the very first day, and reflected on the privilege of contributing to championship teams in Philadelphia. He described his relationships with front office colleagues, coaches, and players as some of the most meaningful of his life. And he closed with 3 words that every Eagles fan knows by heart: "Go Birds." That is not the statement of someone who left angry. That is not the statement of someone who was pushed out. That is the statement of a professional who, entirely on his own terms, decided it was time to write the next chapter. Now, what happens next for Hollibay? There is an open general manager position in Minnesota. The Vikings fired Kwesi Adofo-Mensah earlier this year, and Hollibay would not be a surprise candidate at all. He has the resume, the experience, and the reputation to step into that role immediately. But there is also another path worth watching closely. Just a few days ago, it was announced that Bryce Johnston, the former Eagles senior vice president of football, was hired by the Atlanta Falcons to replace Chris Olsen in the football administration department. Johnston worked side by side with Hollibay during his years in Philadelphia. The new president of football in Atlanta, Matt Ryan, the former quarterback who now runs the Falcons' front office, It would not be surprising at all if Johnston, in the process of building his staff in Atlanta, reached out to a familiar and trusted face. And Halebe, with everything he brings to the table, would be a significant addition to any organization in this league. What makes this situation even more notable is the broader pattern it reveals about the Philadelphia Eagles organization. Philadelphia has quietly become one of the most productive development programs for front office talent in the entire NFL. This is not the first time a high-level Eagles executive has left to take on a bigger role elsewhere, and it will not be the last. The organization has a consistent history of producing people who go on to lead other franchises. That is, in many ways, a direct testament to the culture that Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have built inside that building over the past 15+ years. But it also creates a very real and ongoing challenge. Every time the Eagles develop someone into an elite front office executive, that person becomes attractive to every other team in the league. Keeping the internal pipeline full and replacing the ones who leave with people of equal caliber is just as important as building the 53-man roster on the field. This departure also raises a question that goes beyond this particular moment. How dependent is this Eagles operation on the relationship between Roseman and the people immediately around him? Roseman is widely considered one of the 2 or 3 best general managers in the NFL today. His ability to identify talent, structure contracts, and navigate the salary cap has made Philadelphia one of the model franchises in professional football. But every great GM operates with a team of trusted lieutenants, people who challenge his thinking, fill in the gaps, and carry out the vision at the operational level. Halebe was one of those people for 17 years. The transition period ahead will test just how deep that bench really is inside the Jefferson Health Training Complex. For Eagles fans, the honest question is this: what does this departure mean for Philadelphia going forward? Losing 17 years of institutional knowledge is not something you simply replace by posting a job listing. Halebe understood the team's evaluation process at every level, how they grade college prospects, how they structure contracts to maximize cap flexibility, how they find value in the middle rounds of the draft where other teams consistently miss. That kind of accumulated knowledge doesn't exist in any spreadsheet or any database. It lives in the heads of the people who built it over time. And right now, that knowledge is walking toward a new destination. That said, it is absolutely worth recognizing what Howie Roseman has proven over and over again throughout his career: the ability to rebuild, adapt, and promote from within. The Eagles have never been a one-man front office operation. There are capable, experienced people in that building, people who have learned under both Roseman and Halebe, who will now have the opportunity to step into larger roles and prove themselves. The real test for Roseman in the weeks ahead will be how he structures the organizational response, whether he promotes internally, whether he targets someone from outside the organization, or whether he reshapes responsibilities in a way that makes the whole operation stronger, rather than simply filling a title with a name. That decision will say a great deal about where this franchise is headed. And here is the question I want you to answer in the comments. Do you think Alec Halebe shows up as a general manager somewhere in the NFL before the 2026 season kicks off? Minnesota is the most obvious destination, but with the Atlanta connection through Bryce Johnston, who knows where this goes? And how much do you think this departure actually impacts the Eagles heading into the new season? Is this a real concern? Or is Roseman's operation strong enough to absorb it without missing a beat? Drop your opinion down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later with the latest Eagles news right here for you.